Hi everyone, my name is Mary Zadi. Welcome to my video about my reflections on my Master's of Educational Technology program at Boise State University. A little bit about me before we begin. I'm a teacher, so I thought that the best place to do this part of the video would be here in my classroom, so you'll see that a little bit behind me as we go. The purpose of this video is to give myself some time to reflect on what I've learned while I've been at Boise and why that's important. More importantly, it gives me a chance to decide how that has made an impact on my teaching, on me as a leader, and on my classroom. So I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. We're going to talk about two major things, and then I'll come back and talk to you again. The two major things we're going to talk about in my career are instructional design and educational theory. I hope you enjoy. So one of my guilty pleasures is the show The Big Bang Theory. In this show, there's a group of scientist guys who are really great friends who are trying to find out how to get along really in life with regular people who aren't science geniuses like they are. Lots of times in the show, they turn to the girl here in the middle in this photo, her name is Kaylee Cuoco, to try to help them learn how to get along with other people. Sometimes she's pretty successful with that, and sometimes she's not. So you're probably thinking, what does this have to do with instructional design? And that's a really great question. So I'm going to pop to the next slide so that you can get an idea of one of the scenes in this show, because I didn't think it was a very good idea to actually put the scene in the movie. I happened to be watching The Big Bang Theory while I was trying to get my thoughts together for this reflection video. And in the episode that I was watching, Kaylee, whose name is Penny in the show, is trying to teach Howard how to go fishing. Penny gets very upset with Howard at one point because he's not really doing what she wants him to do. And the outcome that she gets from him isn't really what she wanted at all. And really, I had to step back and think of, this is really instructional design. It's really not having a clear idea of what you want or of how to tell somebody what you want, and then being surprised at the outcome. So this is what Penny got when she told Howard to put the worm on the hook. You see, it is a worm and it is a hook. But since Howard didn't really understand her directions and Penny didn't give very good at directions, the outcome that Penny was hoping for isn't what she got. And to me, this comes back to instructional design. When designing instruction, whether going through the whole process like we did in 503 or doing some rapid prototyping for your classroom, the instructor and/or the instructional designer has to have a clear idea of the goals of the instruction, meaning what do they want to happen when the students are finished learning, what is that going to look like, and why is that important? And that, my friends, takes a whole lot of planning. So if I had to explain my experience in 503 in a nutshell and explain to you why that was so important, it really wouldn't be about creating all of these little flowcharts, although that's the best visual picture that I can give you. The most important thing I learned, and the reason that I chose the 503 project to display to you here in my video, is because this is the first time that I had really taken the time to go through the process of planning, of designing my instruction. This was a huge milestone for me, being a teacher, because it's the first time that I sat down and said, in a specific way, what I needed my students to learn in every single lesson, not just for this lesson that was hard or that one that was my favorite. And this really was transformative as far as designing lesson plans and creating activities for them in which they actually were able to learn the things that they needed to know. Not just science things, but cooperative things, how to get along things, how to collaborate things. And we'll look a lot more at that in the Why Does This Matter section. If EdTech 503 was the first transformative experience that I had during my Master of Educational Technology program, then EdTech 504 was definitely the second. And I have to say that the theories that I learned about in 504 have definitely had the greatest impact on my classroom and on me as a teacher. You see, and you probably know from reading my rationale paper, I did not go to college to be a teacher. So all of the theory that one would learn in the College of Education, I missed out on all of that. So by the time I took this class in the third semester of my educational technology path, I had gone along for almost 5 years just trying to figure out as I went how to help my kids learn. It hadn't even occurred to me, sadly, to go and look and try to find out how to help them and look for the theory on my own. I'd always kind of thought that theory didn't matter, don't tell me about the theory, I just want to know how to do it. And I found out in 504 that that was a really backwards way to go about things. While doing research for the final project of EdTech 504, I did a lot of reading about spiral curriculums and zones of proximal development, and using teachers for support, letting students do the learning, and letting them learn together. I used all of these things to help me transform my classroom from a place where I was in charge to a place where my students have as much being in charge as they possibly can. This is part of the reason it was really kind of funny when I was reading through the suggestions for this video. And one of the suggestions was to find pictures of you using technology, meaning me using technology, to teach my students. And I was combing through all the pictures that I have, and I'm not in a single one of them. And I decided that I'm actually really proud of that. So the next section of my video is going to highlight my kids. So really the best way to show you how I've translated theory into practice is to show you some of the things that my kids have done and can do. We don't have a big budget for technology, so sometimes ed tech takes a low-tech definition and more like the tools definition of use what you've got. And sometimes it takes on the definition that we like to have technology take on, where the kids get to use actual technology, hardware and software to interact with each other and to interact with people outside of our school. I hope you enjoy the things that my students have been able to do, and I hope that it gives you a great idea of how I am no longer the center of my attention, and my kids really are. Learning about the body by using technology to help us discover teaches us so much more than listening to a teacher's lecture and taking notes. Creating tangible models of things that are too small for us to see help us get a better idea of how they're made and how they work. Discussing mechanisms of evolution or listening to a lecture about the processes of natural selection is reasonably boring, and I'm a science teacher. It's a lot more effective to have students create their own children and try to give them the adaptations that they need to help them survive. Here are a few examples of the babies that my students made this semester and some of their explanations for why their babies have the special adaptations or the special skills that they have. So much more effective to have the students create than to have the teacher tell. Understanding the relationships described by the periodic table can be difficult for any student, but even more so for those who don't speak a lot of English yet. Creating the periodic table of me makes the periodic table all about the student and not all about the chemicals. And this makes understanding the periodic table a lot easier for everyone. I think the thing that has been most transformative in my classroom, and one of the things that I'm most proud of, is that I'm no longer the center of attention. My students drive their own learning by collaborating with one another. I think that this collaboration gives them not only the knowledge that they need to succeed in science and pass their state exams, but also to trust that. So then the question really becomes, why does any of that matter? Why does educational technology matter? Why does instructional design or educational theory, for that matter? What difference does it make in the lives of my students or in the lives of the teachers on my campus that I've learned any of this? And I think that the answer is really twofold. First, for my students, those things are important because it gives me an opportunity to show them that they can learn, that they can be in charge of everything in their lives, and that they have the power to find the information that they want, even if it's not the way that we would normally ask them to find it in a traditional classroom. For the teachers on my campus, I think it's important that I've worked through this program and I've been able to bring these different things into my classroom, especially more inquiry-based learning and student-directed learning, so that I can be a force of change on my campus. With an eye of moving forward, I don't want to stay in the classroom. I love being in the classroom, and I will miss it terribly. I'll miss my kids. But I think it's more important in the long run that I take what I've learned and start to teach other teachers how to do a better job at their job. And sometimes that means using computers, and sometimes it means using marshmallows and Twizzlers like you saw. But it all comes down to how can we help our students learn in a way that makes sense to them. And I think technology, again, whether it's low tech or high tech, has the opportunity and provides us a tool, a fantastic tool, to reach our kids where they are, to challenge them to think and to grow. So moving forward with an eye on an EDD, hopefully from Boise State University, and another one of these videos in the future. Thank you so much for looking at my video and for being interested in my work.